Alexis, welcome back to my channel. I talk about Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, a little bit of astrology. So today I got a request from someone to talk about how to make yourself believe that you have more energy as an INTJ. You know, we have that inferior SE, and like when I think of dominant SE users, they are full of energy. When I think of the ESFPs and the ESTPs, even the ISPs have pretty good energy, and like you can even notice like as they get older, you'll look at these SPs who are like 70 years old and they have so much more energy, it seems like comparatively speaking to other types of their same age, or even compared to types much younger than them. So I've briefly talked about this idea a little bit in my Enneagram videos, so I will pop those on the screen. And I just touch on energy management. And I think at the time in those videos, I mentioned that like, this is something that I understand is a problem, but I haven't moved into the solution phase. Like, what is the solution? And I still, I'm not going to say that I have it 100% solved, but I have my mind wrapped around it a lot more than I used to, and I'm a lot more productive than I used to be, and I think that's some evidence of getting this energy management under control. So the first thing I did is I just looked up what is the definition of energy. This is not something that I normally do. I'm not someone who usually works from definitions, but I've just been watching so many NTP videos, and they are just so building from definitions. They're like, okay, let's look at this definition, and this follows from this, and they just, I don't know, they go step by step, and anyways, that's not how my brain operates, but I like to do the more NI sort of thing. I don't know, I don't like to be so much like in TI. But I was like, you know what, I'll do it just because I do think that the benefit to that is it's a lot easier to follow. Whereas one thing I've started noticing recently is NI makes a lot of jumps. So maybe I got from here to here. And there were steps in between, but I don't articulate it really. So energy is strength and vitality required for sustained physical or mental activity, the ability to exert effort, vitality, vigor, life, liveliness. So already built into that definition, it's basically the ability to move. Like you have the energy for movement. And that just reminds me a lot of SE. They are moving all the time. The antonyms, lethargy, sluggish, inertia, stagnation, inactiveness, blandness, boringness. And I thought that was so interesting that it's almost like the way to get more energy is to combat boringness, blandness. When I'm involved in creative projects and things that I care about, like when I can combine NI and TE, I do have extreme energy. When I'm on a brand new project, for example, I love that ideation phase of a project, getting something off the ground. I think infusing creativity in your life is just kind of one side note to bring in curiosity, kind of this opposite of being boring. But then the other thing is the concept of inertia. So when I think of inertia, it's kind of like, you know, an object in motion stays in motion, an object at rest stays at rest. And I think for the introverted types, our inertia is staying at rest. It's in that introverted loop. And so usually when someone's asking like, how can I get more energy, or how can I believe that I have more energy? What we mean is like to get things done. Like, what is the point? You know, what's the point of wanting more energy? It's so that you can get things done, so that you can accomplish your vision, so that your plans become a reality, so that after you've inputted for so long, you can do something meaningful with it and you can output it. So to kind of combat that, the object at rest stays at rest, the sluggishness, the boringness, you have to infuse new things into your life to get curious about, and you have to get into extroversion. That is kind of the opposite of our inertia. Extroverts have the opposite problem, but for the introverted types, we have to really combat that staying at rest. And one thing to mention is different types are going to need help getting energy to do different things. Like, we don't need to generate energy to learn. Like, I think of an INTJ as asking this question. They're not saying, I just don't have enough energy to learn. Like, we have the energy to learn. We have the energy to do introverted things because that's part of our staying at rest. What we would like to do and what we aspire to do is to actually accomplish things with TE and make things happen. But we don't always feel like we have the energy to do that. It's that what I'm really interested in is that transition, the transitioning from being at rest to transition to being in motion, kind of this introverted to extroverted space. And one thing that I've thought about is you could think of energy in the same way you think of money. So some people have a very strong scarcity mindset with money. And the scarcity mindset with money doesn't see money as a flow. Because when you think about money, it really is like a flow. It's like you get paid and pretty quickly you're going to spend it and it's going to be out to someone else and that person's going to spend it and it's going to be gone, and it's constantly traveling most of the time. Even people that are really wealthy are going to invest it and it's going to go somewhere. And basically it's always just traveling places. And so you don't have to think of energy in like this fixed sense. Like you have it or you don't. It's like a flow. You know, sometimes you expend energy and sometimes you get it, and you can get it from different things and you can expend it for different things. And there are certain things that have different values. Like just like you can spend your money on things that are valuable, you could spend your money on things that aren't necessarily valuable. But energy can be done in the same way. So just getting yourself to say, you know, my energy is renewed every day. So I give myself permission to spend it on things that I find valuable. So there are a few things that can happen with energy. One, there are things that leak your energy. Two, your energy can stay static. Or three, you can do things to increase your energy. So I want to talk about each of these three different relationships that we can have with energy. So one, let's just talk about things that are energy leaks. I think energy leaks are going to be anything in our bottom four functions. So FE is a strong energy leak. If we're going to have to be in small talk, going to a baby shower, I can think of examples like that. SI things, like I know a lot of SINE people are kind of like crafty and they're like hands-on crafts, and that's going to be an energy leak. And basically those things are going to be, you know, they really are not us. They don't really align with who we feel like we are. At the same time, even in the functions that we do have in our top four functions, there are some things that are going to show up negatively that feel like energy leaks. Like FI can really negatively contribute to our lives. It can contribute shame, and shame is a huge energy leak. Depression is a huge energy leak. So let's just talk about like anything bad mental health related. That is an energy leak, and you can use extroverted thinking to get that solved. You can go extrovert your thoughts to a therapist. You can extrovert your thoughts in a journal. You can extrovert your thoughts in a song. You know, you can talk to somebody, but there are ways to get things dealt with if you're just willing to deal with it. However, if you don't deal with it, that's going to be an energy suck for a long time, and you have to think about your ROI. Like it might be more difficult to really get it done and deeply get into it for an hour once a week for a month, or you could just not deal with it, and it can be this low grade shame and depression that just carries on for 10 years when you can really get into TE and get that dealt with, because TE is all about solving problems, and if the problem's not getting solved, you're not in TE. Another FI thing that's really draining is fear. I mean, sometimes I will have to make a decision and I am just so afraid of making the wrong decision. I get analysis paralysis. That is so draining. It can be fun, and it is fun to think about things, but when you get into analysis paralysis and overanalyzing, that quickly is not fun anymore. There's a law of diminishing returns, and eventually that NI-FI loop the returns are diminished and it's not good anymore. I just have never found my problems to be solved by overanalyzing. When you think of dominant TE users, they do not have the problem of overanalyzing. They make decisions quickly and then they execute on them, whereas we have this introverted loop that prohibits us from doing that. And that is what's going to be significantly draining. And if you are in perfectionism and taking 1,000 years to idealize, to FI idealize a decision, and the decision needs to be perfect, you know that you're not in TE, and that is going to be extremely draining. And that's where the sluggishness and the lethargy comes in. That is the opposite of having energy. Overanalyzing, counterintuitively, is not the way to solve problems. Actually, a lot of times I get some good results by acting quickly, executing quickly like TE would. One thing that I think dominant FI users do pretty well is thinking about their own needs and what do they need. And you know, TE can be kind of a workaholic, and FI is kind of the opposite of that. So when FI users are having a bad day, they'll take it off. And oftentimes I notice FI users are in jobs that are very easy for them to take a day off because they're in part-time jobs or just in between jobs, stuff like that. Whereas I've noticed that the TJs are really not in jobs like that normally. They're usually in very structured jobs, especially at the beginning of their career. I think they're definitely in organizations before they've necessarily worked their way up. And we just want to work. We just enjoy working so much, and we just think, okay, for this week, this is what I wanted to get done. And the idea of taking a day off is like, I don't really want to take a day off because it's going to throw the plan off. I kind of had this thing, this is what we were doing for this week, and that was going to flow into next week. And now if I take a day off because I need to address my emotions, it just kind of ruins the plan. But you have to pivot sometimes. Like even though at work you set plans out for yourself, you have to take a day off to get energy back. You know, you can stop doing the things that leak energy, but at some point you have to start giving back to yourself. Like, how can I get more energy and how can I care for myself? We aren't very well in tuned to our own needs. The other thing I was reaching up, so your brain is about 2% of your body weight, but it takes up like 20% of the energy resources. So if you're a type that's just going to spend so much time in your brain, like that's a huge energy suck. You know, counterintuitively, getting in your body is what gives energy back to you. The SPs understand this. And if you want to have more energy, take a note from the SP types. And if you don't like their method of doing it, then I guess stick with the INTJ method of doing it, but you better enjoy not having any energy. So when I first started this journey of trying to have more energy, realizing that I wanted to get things done and that the biggest block for me was not having energy, I decided that I was going to try to start being better with my body. And at the time, I didn't have a very good understanding of the cognitive functions, and I actually started implementing SI things. I was like, okay, I'll do a habit tracker with water, and habit trackers are a very SI thing. And I couldn't do it for more than like 3 days, and it was getting very frustrating. Like, this didn't feel good to me to be doing this. And I think when we approach energy and taking care of our bodies, it's important that we don't do it from an SI frame, because we cannot do it. We cannot do the Fitbit tracker. We can't do the app trackers. Like, I cannot with the daily habit trackers. I do not keep up on them. So I've tried to, like, okay, I'm not gonna do it from an SI way. I'm gonna do it in an SE way. That's a better way for me to manage energy. And luckily, I'm married to an ISFP. So part of this is me being able to take the knowledge that I've got from the ISFP, and he just runs his life this way. And then he just kind of sets up systems for me, and I'll do it. Like, I don't care about working out and food and water and all this stuff. So, but he really does. So he has done a lot of research. And so then he can just help me integrate that into my life. So I just tell you about some of the things that he's helped me integrate. The one thing is working out. TE likes to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. So I like to bike to work and then bike home from work. I don't like to take out an extra hour of my day to work out, because I don't value SE that much. Like, I value energy, but I don't care about this. So it's kind of a nice transition before and after the day. It gets me pumped up on the way to work, and it's a good transition on the way back from work. The second thing about managing energy is your chronotype. So there's a graph about how your energy goes throughout the day, and for certain people it peaks in the evening, for some people it's peaked in the morning, some people in the afternoon or whatever. So I have a video all about that, and that is actually very helpful. I think of that every single day, and I have designed my work routine about my body type's energy levels throughout the day. So check out that video. That's actually very helpful. Maybe I'll just walk through my routine that kind of ISFP helped me integrate. So I wake up in the morning. First thing is I just chug a thing of water. That's my routine. Splash water in my eyes. Then I take these are from Herbalife. Can we see it? Take a total control tablet. It says it stimulates metabolism. I'm not really using it for that. I use it mostly for energy. I believe it's predominantly like green tea extract or whatever. So I take one of these. I also have one of these in the afternoon. Then I drink a protein shake in the morning, just 'cause it's easy. I don't like to spend time doing it. I don't even know what's in it, but that's what I have. I bike to a coffee shop, and I get a Zip Fizz, not a coffee. Coffee turned out to be kind of like actually draining and just jittery. Then I go to work. At 9 a.m. I have a snack. It's like jerky, little protein bites, bell peppers, cottage cheese, cheese stick. At lunch, I have another shake, and I have another total control. Then I bike home, and I have another snack. And then I have dinner, and we just do Daily Harvest for dinner, because I just don't like to cook. Anyway, so that's basically what I do for food throughout the day, and I just honestly don't even think about it. I don't know if all INTJs are like this. I don't even care about the taste of things, especially if I'm at work. Like, if I'm at work, I don't even taste at all what I'm eating. I just kind of chow it down. One thing that I've learned lately is I'm not very concerned with my space. I'm very minimalistic, I would say, with my house. Like, I am very just keen. I'll just throw things out. Like, if I haven't used it in a month, I'll just throw it out. My husband and I are both like that. We don't have any SI. We're not pack rats at all. So I keep the space very minimal, but at the same time, I'm not very good. Like, I don't have the SI to keep things clean all the time. So there's not that much stuff lying around because we don't have that much stuff, but at the same time, like, it's a little cluttered. So what I've been trying to do is implement more like Zen. Like, NI is kind of a Zen, minimal looking function. So I've tried to have more candles, keep the spaces clear. Like, as soon as I get home, I just try to tidy it, because when the space is clear, it gives me like so much more mental energy. And if I have to do something, I don't know, for some reason with the space being clean, I just feel like I have more energy to do it. Movement in general is helpful. Dancing is helpful. Oh, I also usually go on a walk in the afternoons. I do a lot of biking. Like, I'll bike around the neighborhood, or I'll walk just for fun. especially if it's sunny. The weather's been getting so nice recently. One thing is I basically need 10 hours of sleep. I have always needed a ton of sleep, which is hard for me to implement because I also like to kind of stay up late. But one thing that gives me energy is just jumping into action immediately. That's kind of an SETE thing. If I think of like for example, so someone left this comment, hey, can you do this video? And I could have, what my natural tendency would be to do is open up the Google Docs, type up all these things, the next day, type up some more, the next day, type up some more, the next day, type up some more, and the next week I would film it. And by that time, kind of this creative drive that I have, the energy to do it, is gone. By this time, it's been a week in the making. It's not an I knew idea anymore. This is just something in the past. But what I'm trying to make myself do is to just SE jump into it. So I saw the comment today. I'm making the video today because I'm passionate about it and interested in it today. And it makes my vibe a little bit better. Not that I'm that animated anyways, but it makes it better. Okay, the next section is into TE. This is the biggest reason why I want more energy, is because I want to accomplish my vision and my tasks and my dreams. I really couldn't care less about exercising. Besides that, being thin and attractive is kind of a status thing, so I kind of care about that. But anyways, if I could just do nothing and not get fat, I would totally not be doing anything. If I could just be healthy and not do that. Anyways, but the biggest reason I care about energy is because I want my goals to be accomplished. So one thing about like getting the energy to do a task is to just make it easy on yourself. Like one, have the space clean, like I already said, but two is I use kind of like this setup method. So if there's something I want to do tomorrow, I set it up tonight and do step 1 tonight. And I do that with almost every task I do. So if I have to get dressed in the morning, I'll lay out my outfit the night before. If I'm really on top of it. If I was living my optimized life, that's what I would be doing. Set out my shake stuff the day before. If I want to film, I would set up the camera and stuff the day before. If I want to edit a video tomorrow, I'm going to make sure that I already loaded the SD card on my computer and it's already in Final Cut so that the next day I can just get right into it. Because it's kind of that initial push that makes it difficult, but if you do step 1 of the task, it's like, okay, all I have to do is step 1 and tomorrow I can do the rest. Then by the time tomorrow comes, you're like, oh, I already did step 1, that'll be easy. So that's something that I found makes it easy for me to push into a task. One thing I try to do is like, okay, I'm just gonna do this for 2 minutes. Like I'll just do the dishes for 2 minutes and then after that we'll call it good. But that didn't do anything for me. I've tried that so many times and it's just like I can feel that I'm being manipulated. I'm like, I don't want to do this. But by the same token, for some reason, I am manipulated by racing myself. This sounds stupid. But I'm like, okay, last time I did the dishes in like 10 minutes. Like, can I do it in 8 minutes? And that'll push me. Occasionally, I can't do that very often, but sometimes if I really want to get something done, I'll set a timer for myself and make myself get it done by that time. But TE creation, I mean, that actually gives me energy after the fact. I mean, it feels like it expends energy to get it going. But once I get going in TE, after I'm done, after I've completed something, I feel really good and energized. Like, I know we always talk about, like, introverts get energy from being introverted and extroverts get any energy from being extroverted, but I think that's a little too broad. Like, I think I would almost say you get energy from your top 2 functions. And I think you probably get more energy, you probably get energy 100% of the time, or nearly 100% of the time from, like, NI. And TE, you're not going to gain energy like initially. Like you're not like, ooh, I just want to go do this to get energy. But after the fact, you'll realize that it generates energy. Or that's how I kind of feel about it. So it's not like my resting state. It's not like I'm just always in TE. My resting state is like definitely NI. But after the fact, when I do TE, I feel really good about it. And it's just a matter of like, if you want to create energy, you just have to make yourself believe like, this isn't a job that I'm doing right now. It's not like, oh, it's going to be so draining. I'm going to have to do work. It's like, this is going to give me energy. I'm going to feel so energized after I get this thing done, which I think is why like ETJs can be workaholics, because they would get so much energy from getting stuff done. They just feel good from doing it. But one thing in general about this that I'll say is for the longest time, I had an obsession with time passing by. And I was like, time is passing by and my energy is leaving and it's just passing by so much. So what I'm going to do with my time is I'm just going to do nothing, because like time moves slow. Time moves slow when you're doing nothing. And I eventually had to be like, okay, sure, maybe my perception of it is that I have more time, but if it's not valuably spent time, then is it really valuable? Like, do I care to have time move slower in my perception if it's not actually valuable? Wouldn't you rather time move quickly and it be slipping away from you? If you knew that you were doing things that really like really accomplish things. Like, would you rather live for 200 years doing nothing, and it seemed like 200 years, or would you rather live for 100 years and it seems like it flew by, but you like moved the needle and you got every single thing done that you wanted to get done. You lived the life you wanted to live. And I would choose the latter. I want a life that's valuable. And it's going to feel like maybe you don't have as much control on things, or that time is slipping by, or the energy is slipping from your grasp. But you'll know that you left it all out on the table, and it's a valuable trade-off. And even so, on the other side of that trade-off, you get fulfillment, and you do get energy from it. It's not like it's fruitless. It's not like, okay, well, I accomplished my goals, but my life sucked. It's like you accomplished your goals, and it gave you that vitality and the vigor and the curiosity, and it got rid of that blandness and the boringness. Like, who wants to have the longer stretched life, like the 200 years if it's bland and boring? That's not what I want. I want to be doing new things, risky things, to expand myself, to push myself out of my comfort zone, to push myself out of my boundaries, and to be as big as I possibly can be. And that comes by, pushing yourself into energy, because you're naturally gonna be an NI. Like, you don't really have to worry about not being an NI. That is the way your brain and your subconscious processes things, and that's not gonna change whether you're in motion or you're at your house on the internet. Like, you're still gonna be processing things in that way. And I found that, like, when I'm at home just like researching on the internet, it's going to have a certain flavor, and there's only a certain scope that I can broaden it to, because I don't have NE to just look up any random stuff. I'm usually very targeted in my focus, and so I don't actually learn as much on the internet as when I'm like out with people. Because when you're out with people, you don't get to filter the information to just the stuff you want. I mean, they're going to spit all sorts of stuff at you, and some of it you care about, some of it you don't, but the byproduct is that you got a broader source of information. And when they say something that's kind of out of left field, because that's not where your NI was taking it, then you can process that, and you can take that one sentence and you can really expand on that, and that turns into another idea, and that turns into another idea, which turns into a project, which turns into a career, and it really contributes to your life. So you just have to think about, like, energy management is one resource, but there are other resources I've talked about, mindset, energy, emotions, and time. And when you're just so holding tightly to all these things, and you want to control your mindset and know the energy is mine and the time is mine, these are my emotions, and you just hold so tightly, that's when it ends up slipping from you. That's when it ends up not being valuable. If you hang on to your energy and your time and you never want to let go, that's a wasted life. And if you have a wasted life, that means you wasted time. Like, time is life. The amount of life you have is bound by time. I just want people to use those 4 resources to the very best of their ability. And I believe that when you increase one of those resources, the value of the other ones are like increased. Like, if you use your time wisely, that's going to make your mindset go up. If you use your energy, in a good way, that makes your emotions go up, and they're all kind of interrelated. So maybe if you're not sure exactly how to get your energy up, figure how to get your mindset, your emotions, and your time spent in better ways, and that will kind of, the rising tide, what is the phrase? The rising tide raises all boats. That's one thing. And just think about, like, maybe you don't know how to manage your energy, but maybe you do know how to understand, maybe you do understand very well how to manage money. So just take what are all your money management principles and apply them to energy. Or maybe you know how to manage your mindset and your emotions. Okay, take those principles and apply them to energy. So if you're interested more about the 4 resources, I have a video about those valuable 4 resources. And then if you're also interested more briefly touching on like Enneagram 5 energy management, I'll link those videos as well. So thanks so much for watching. Bye.